Welcome. This is yoga for when the world feels like a dumpster fire. Not candy coating it, a lot of things are going on, we've got a lot of stress. So let's take care of what we can take care of and do a little yoga together. Come on and join me on your mat. So first of all, let's just get on the ground. Let's find the earth, and feel free to prop yourself up on a blanket or a towel. You might need that through the practice to pad your knees, or again to sit on if that feels better. And find a long spine. That doesn't mean over back bending. It just means finding some length through the neutral curves of your spine. Close your eyes and then take a full deep inhale through the nose and sigh that out through the mouth. And let's just shake off some clutter. So I know we've all got a lot of stuff built up and we want to release some of that. So just start to shake the arms. You can wiggle around however it feels good. Really releasing those holds. Sometimes we don't even know we're holding things on in the body. So let that go. And then again, place the hands on the legs. Take an inhale through the nose. Big loud sigh through the mouth. Nice. And we're gonna come into a child's pose to get even closer to the ground. This is where using a blanket under your knees might already be useful to you, or again, a towel. Reaching the hips back and the arms forward. Walk the arms a little further forward. Now you can be higher up with the hips if that's better for the knees, no problem. Just as long as you're getting some real length through the spine, opening the hips and the low back. Deep inhale here. Breathe out through the nose. Inhale to all fours and take the knees directly beneath the hips. The tops of the feet can be down or the toes can be tucked. From here, start to circle around. So the hips are gonna go back, take yourself to the right, forward, and to the left. It's kind of not really so much a circle as more of an oval. And then reverse that direction and getting into the hips, the shoulders, the wrists, and bringing a little more blood flow. And with your hands, really find, so come to all fours and pause for a moment and really find that the first finger and the first knuckle and the first thumb joint are rooted down, and put a tiny little fingerprint of your fingers down onto the ground. So you're really connected there. Tuck your toes if they're not already, and shift into your first downward facing dog. So we're changing our perspective to the world here. Let the head hang down, so release the neck. That's gonna be a really nice opportunity to let go of some tension there, and alternately bend one knee and the other. Extension through the back of the legs and through the spine. Don't feel like you have to get the heels to the floor. You absolutely do not. If you're feeling a stretch, bravo, you're doing it right. And then reach your heels back. They don't have to touch again. Inhale. And exhale, lower slowly to the knee. So slow down that knee to move too quickly. I know when we get stressed out, we're kind of zipping around pretty fast. Let that go. Transition back into your child's pose. Take the forearms down onto the ground and roll the wrists out. And then we'll really beautifully get into the hips here. We're not gonna ask too much of the body. We're gonna do it in a really deliberate and kind way. So rise up to all fours and then take one foot forward. I'm gonna take my right foot forward here. And just allow yourself a little rock forward and back. Now, as the pelvis might come a little more forward, you might wanna take your front foot a little more forward as well. See how that feels. I'm gonna tuck my back toes because that feels nice for my kneecap. It stabilizes it a little bit more. Again, it's an option. And then I'm going to increase the lift of my foot. So I'm gonna increase the stretch by lifting the toes towards my face, and then sole of the foot comes down, pelvis forward. One more time, toes towards the face, hips back. Walk the hands and the pelvis a little more forward, sole of the foot down. Now shift the hips back, take your front knee back, and go into a child's pose or a downward facing dog. You choose. Whatever one you're choosing, connect with the earth. Really put your hands down on the ground. The brain and the hands are intimately connected, and when we root our hands, it helps to root our minds. Deep breath in. Again, take those transitions slowly. If you were in downward dog, coming to all fours. Same thing if you were in child's, rising up to all fours. Left foot comes forward now, or whichever foot you didn't put forward first. I like to have my fingertips down. You could always have blocks too. And that slow initiation back and forth. On the first few, we're not lifting the arch of the foot. Okay, that's going to stretch differently. And we might walk that foot a little further forward depending on what the hips and the low back need. And then on these next two, as you come back, release the sole of the foot off, keep just the back of the heel down, spread the toes, come back into that low lunge, and then again shift back, toes towards the face, sole of the foot down, and then move your hips back to let the knee find its way back to the other. Downward dog or your child's pose from here. Alternately bending the knees. Now we'll go into the hips differently here with external and internal rotation. So turn your heels in and your toes out. Press your heart back through to the inner legs here, and you'll even get a shoulder opening here. There's a back bend going on, different than classic downward dog. Let the torso come a little bit forward, and now take a very easily attainable pigeon pose. Turn your toes in and your heels out. You can increase the stretch by pulling the mat apart between the feet, and you'll probably feel more in those glutes. Breathing here. Now take your heels straight back, and last time for now for this transition, slowly to all fours. Move your blanket out of the way, off to the side, and take your fingertips down, lift your hips, and come into a fold that feels good. Now, if fingertips on the floor isn't quite right, put your hands on the shins or to blocks or even the thighs. Knees can be bent here. And take a little sway side to side. So when we're under stress, we normally get pretty rigid. So these flowier movements can be really helpful for relieving some of that stress, releasing, and just decreasing that overall rigidity. Now walk your soles of your feet out and take the outer edges of your feet parallel to the outer edges of your mat. We're going to start to bend and straighten the legs. Now, you can do this with your heels straight back, or if it feels better, you can come to more of a malasana where you turn your toes out and your heels in. The hips can stay a little bit bent, or excuse me, the knees can stay a little bit bent, or the hips can come all the way down with a much bigger bend in the knees. It's completely up to you, and you're going back and forth slowly, not fast. Again, waking up the work of the legs, opening into the hips. One more time, bending and coming a little straighter. If you turn your toes out to the sides, take them forward. Bend the knees, drape the head and the arms down, let them dangle. Now scoop your organs towards your spine and round. So you're finding your way back into alignment. If we felt, which I know I have, misaligned, coming back into that feeling of alignment, structure, being structurally sound. When you come to the top, you might take that sigh. And then from here, I'm going to turn towards you, but you can stay where you are. We're just going to pick one arm and start to rotate around. So something that usually happens when we're under stress, and it's just a natural thing, and switch sides, other arm, is we sometimes go into protection mode. So our physical shape and our posture can change because we're protecting really our vital organs, our heart. So you're safe here. So let's open up through the shoulder and the pectoral muscles, and then shake out both sides. And we're just gonna work a little bit of balance here. So take your feet underneath you, just wherever it feels like you want to, okay? And then we're just gonna lift the heels a little bit and put them back down. Lift the heels a little bit and put them back down. So I want this to be attainable. So a little bit could be a hair, like we're just sliding a sheet of paper under your heels, or you can go higher than that. If you want to bring the arms into it, arms forward and up as the heels lift, arms forward and down as the heels down. Then switching arms to the sides and up as the heels go up, arms to the side and down. One more time, each way and down. Last time. We're taking our movement a little slower because that helps calm the nervous system. And down. Roll the shoulders, and let's check in with the neck. Is there anything that you could do to provide a release? Sometimes what the teacher says isn't really what your neck needs, so I would just let you venture around and release it in the ways that you know better than I ever could. Come on and join me at the top of your mat. All right, so we're gonna create a positive fire between our hands. So put a flame, a little ember of positivity, of passion, of joy in between your hands, all right? And we're going to start create friction, and that is going to grow and grow and grow, that fire, that flame. That's actually a positive fire, not a dumpster fire. And wake up within you positivity, and again, that passion to do what is right for you and what feels good. 3, 2, 1, shake off the arms. Did you notice that was also work for the triceps? Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bend the knees any amount as you fold down, surrender. Let the contents of the heart feed the mind. Inhale, rise halfway up, shoulder blades on the back. You might bend the knees a lot here. Exhale, fold. Let's take it back to a plank or a knees down plank or all fours. We're gonna hold this without holding our breath. So choose the level that's correct for you today, whether it be plank, knees down plank, which the knees are behind the hips, or just all fours, drawing the organs towards the spine. And we're gonna steadily breathe. 3, 2, 1. Downward facing dog. From there, root your palms. Again, you really want to feel the earth, and from those roots, grow your right leg. I like to walk my left foot a little more to the midline before I raise my right leg. It's up to you. And then I'll give you the option to stay here or externally rotate that right hip, so stacking the right hip on the left, and then roll back down. Stacking the right, and then roll back down to where the pelvis is more aligned, and then stacking, roll back down. Keep the pelvis where it is, roll down, hug the right knee up and in towards the forehead, hug even the ankle higher to the sitting bone, and now seal that right foot down into a lunge. Walk your left foot over enough that you feel like you have a nice spaciousness between the feet. You're not on a tight wire. And take your time rising up into your high lunge. If you want to shorten your stance a little bit and widen it, that will make it easier to balance upon. So choose wisely. And then from here, bring your hands to your heart. Inhale. Exhale, twist towards that front leg. So you're twisting to open up through your left hip flexors. Put a lot of life through the quadriceps on that left leg. Inhale, center. Exhale, put both hands down on a chair or blocks or the floor on the inside of your right foot. Breathing here. Now, a lot of us are going to feel like this is a perfect stretch. It's also strengthening. Yes, that's happening. If you want a little more stretch, take the left knee down and breathe here. If you want even more, come to your forearms. That's not going to be accessible for everybody. You could always put them on blocks, but if it feels like too much, it is too much. And we're already dealing with a lot, so don't feel like you need to go deep into this. And then from here, if you were lower, take your arms straight. Pick up that back knee if it was down. Take your right hand to the outside of the right foot, step back into your plank pose. And again, it's plank or knees down plank or all fours, drawing the organs towards the spine. 3, 2, 1. Downward dog or child's pose. You can stay in child's pose as long as you want, especially if you want to skip this hip stuff, and you can join us whenever you're ready. Root the palms down. Right foot might walk a little bit in over to the left. Left leg rises. Stay here or stack left and then rotate down. Toes turn towards the sides as you stack, and toes turn down as the pelvis rotates more parallel to the floor. Last one, opening out, rolling back in. Left knee comes in, hug in, lift the ankle to the sitting bone, and then seal the left foot down. Come to the fingertips, widen your stance, feel it in the legs first, get steady, and then rise up. You might reach up. Your arms could go to the sides too. My wall's sort of in the way, that's why I've been reaching forward. Breathing here. Bring your hands to your heart center. Inhale. Exhale, little twist to the left. So instead of going into this here with the elbow onto the knee, we're going there, but we're not there yet. We're keeping this high, so this is the opening across the front of the right hip. Wake up that back leg. Inhale, center. Exhale, hands come down to the inside of that left arch. You might be here, breathing, stretching, as well as strengthening. Maybe you'll lower that back knee, and there's a possibility you'll come down to forearms or blocks on forearms if you have very open hips, and when you have the arms straight, you're just not feeling sensation or much sensation, okay? Pick the level that is complementary to your body, not one that asks too much. Relax your jaw. If you were down on the forearms, straighten the arms out. Tuck your back toes if you haven't, lift the back knee. Left hand on left side of the left foot, and then come into your plank pose. Now this time we're changing it up. Rock your heels forward and either move through chaturanga to the floor or put your knees down and come all the way to the belly. When you do, I want you to go to sleep for a long time now. Take a break. You can close your eyes. What feels good? Does it feel good to bend your knees and sway the hips side to side, or put your legs down and wiggle your hips? What feels nice and releasing? That's where I want you to go. We've been very focused into those hips and opening, especially if we've been sitting a lot. This has been a very nice practice to complement that. But we'll go into the spine and the heart a little bit more here. So take your forearms down into Sphinx pose. Fingers are spread gently wide. The elbows can be forward of the shoulders or underneath. What feels good in your spine? I always take a little bit wider footing than my pelvis. Roll the shoulder blades back, pull the elbows and hands back to take the sternum forward, not thinking so much up, but more forward. I'm not gonna squeeze my glutes as hard as I can, but they've got a little activity, that's just fine. And then from here, take a deep inhale and exhale, come on down for another little nap. Now, a little rest. Do whatever feels good in the spine and in the glutes. And then from here, bring your hands alongside of your chest, draw the elbows in, shoulder blades loop onto your back, tuck your toes, draw your organs actively towards your spine, and press up to all fours. If that was too much, press directly to child's pose. For those of you who went to all fours, go to that child's pose, get that length. Walk your hands over to the left side of the mat and drag the right hip back. Now breathe as if you're filling the right lung more than the left. I just want you to increase the sensation of stretch on that right side laterally. And then we'll walk it over laterally to the left. You can stack the left hand or put the hands next to each other, drag the left hip nice and long back, opening the left side. Give yourself breath, give yourself space. Walk back to the center, rise up. We'll take our blanket or towel underneath our knees and take care of the underside of the forearms, which from carrying all the time and holding things, and these get very tight. So turn your fingertips towards your knees, the heels of your hands away. Now, if this doesn't feel okay, you can sit back however you want and do the same thing by just kind of moving your fingers back. It should feel uncomfortable, not painful, but it should feel weird. And then from here, tuck your toes, and the further your hips go back, the more that will increase the stretch. So don't feel the need to move the hips back at all, but if you do, that will give you more of that underside of the forearm stretch. And then peel the hands off and shake that out. We're gonna come to a high kneeling in the middle of our mat. So you might move your padding more centrally on your mat, doesn't have to be perfect. And then pick one leg. I'll do this mirroring you guys, so this would be my left leg, if that was the case. For external rotation, the other leg is more neutral and starts underneath the hip. So from here, your front knee and your toes are pointed the same direction. Now, it's the same thing as in our lunge before. As we move, and you take your hands to your waist, as you move your pelvis towards whichever foot you took out to the side, you might want to heel toe a little more forward. So you're less here, And a little more in 90 degrees. Breathing here. And then let your arms hang down. Let go of the work of the neck and the jaw. And then like the arms are rising to the surface of water, take them up and out to the sides. If this is too much for your lower knee, turn this into a warrior two, please. And you'll get off that lower knee or add more padding. And from here, you're going to lower your back hand to your waist, fingertips to the floor or a block. Turn your front palm up and either get a nice straight line of reach or any amount of an arc. If that bothers your low back, you need to decrease the arc or make sure you have more stability under the back hand. Peaceful warrior variation. Back to warrior two variation on the knee. And then heel toe a little bit closer in, and as you're ready, we'll come into a hero pose, either seated on the heels or stay in high kneeling or sit on a block or two, something that feels okay for the knees. Breathing here, and then gently bring your hands to your heart and hug everything to the midline. So actively wake up the inner thighs and through the arms and press into the midline. So we were just away from the midline a bit, come back. Breathing here. Shake the arms out a little bit. So this is all to kind of show you that we can get away from the midline and feel sort of asymmetrical, and maybe that's a little bit, it doesn't make us feel so settled, but we can always come back to that midline. Going away from it isn't necessarily a bad thing with our yoga poses. And then we'll take the other foot, whichever foot you didn't do, to the other side. This would be your right. If you were following along earlier, hands to the waist and start to bring the pelvis any amount in that direction, maybe moving that foot a little more forward. I didn't say this before, but the top of your back foot can be down or arch if you're very far forward. Breathing here, arms hang, and then let them rise up. So that sweetness from the center of your heart, reaching out through the fingertips and offering that out. I know it's been really hard to offer sweetness during some of this time, but it's possible. And then you get to choose either backhand on the waist, a block, or fingertips to the floor, straight arm up, or any amount of an arc. So I'm showing you this time with my backhand on the floor. That's a big posture, and it might not be necessary or right for everyone. Maybe a chair, maybe a straight line here, just like this. And back to the warrior two, arms here. And let that go. Shift back with the foot, walk it in a little bit, and then rotate back until you're in either that sitting on the heels, sitting on blocks, or just choose a different seated position where your knees and your hips feel good. Now create a little bowl with your hands, one hand on top of the other, and the tips of your fingertips to touch, tips of your thumbs, and place that in your lap. Come back to your midline. Come back to the reservoir of liquid at your center. So what I want you to imagine when I say that is that at your center, there is a little lake. It might be at the heart center or the solar plexus. Just imagine it there. And allow whatever waves might be in that to soften, soften, soften down to ripples, maybe down to a placid, serene body of water as we bring ourselves into a more gentle state. Soften at the bridge of the nose and all the little muscle fibers around the eyes. Generally, when we're really focused or even when we're feeling critical of ourselves or others, we tend to maybe squint or let go of the relaxation of the face. So come back into that. And relax fully around that heart. Deep breath in, sighing out. Bring your hands to your legs. We're gonna round the spine. Hands will slide down to maybe the kneecaps, round the head, drape the tail. As you inhale, let the sternum slowly rise, let the hands glide the legs, let the shoulder blades come back. Exhale, round. So you can do this in a hero pose, you can do this in all fours, you can do this in any sort of seated way that feels good. Just cat-cowing the spine to open up behind the heart as we round in and in front of the heart as we reverse. And then neutralize that work. We'll take ourselves onto our padding, and I'm adding a little bit more, kind of like where I started, and sit nice and tall onto that. And same thing, relax the face, relax the jaw. Find that slowing down, releasing of the waves to the ripples to more serene. Bring your elbows in towards your body and your palms facing up. I don't want you to feel like this is stuck or glued or hard, just let it be soft. And then from your heart out to the palms of your hands, put some offering of kindness, of acceptance, somewhere that may have felt a little stickier. We've all had the stickier points. Open up, offer out. And then for the rotator cuff, we'll just take the thumbs back any amount. This won't go very far for any of us. And exhale, take the hands back to where they start, or you can cross one on top of the other near the belly. And then open out to the sides, thumbs reach back a bit, shoulder blades come a little closer. Exhale, other hand crosses on top, or just back to where you started. Back and forth. This is not a movement we do very often, but it's really useful for the shoulders, the health of the shoulders, the chest and the back. And then we'll take the arms out to the sides with those offerings and offer that out and up to the sides. So in whatever V shape feels good. Imagine that those lines of energy can be whatever color you want, from the center of the heart out to the palms, offering. And then let's switch it, receive. So I'm offering to you guys health and calm. Inhale, reach up, palms might touch. Exhale, bring the hands through to the heart. Interlace the fingers around the spine, drape the head. Inhale, with or without the interlacing, take the arms back up. Exhale, float the arms back down. Roll your shoulders around a few times. And you can now take your padding away, and we're going to come on to the back. So you're going to have a couple ways to do that. You can use a core transition where you roll down, holding onto the legs or not. You can even take one leg with you and bring that in, which is a little bit awkward and weird, but it's something to try. Or you can just find yourself on the mat, flop down. Okay, bring one knee in. No matter how you got there, extend the other leg or not. So you can keep that opposite knee bent with the sole of the foot on the floor, or you can straighten it to the ground. Fingers interlaced, either in front or behind the knee you have closer. Breathing here. Lift your head up, elongate the back of the neck, put the head back down, relax the shoulders a little bit more. And then circle that knee around, getting just a little pressure through that low abdomen, opening through the hip. And then take that knee out to the side any amount. I like to create a little kickstand with my elbow here so that I am not holding on in the hip, but I can actually let the weight of my leg fall into the hand. You can always put a prop there too. Draw the knee back up and then cross the midline and let that knee go to the other side. I have my blanket there to catch the knee. You can use something, or it can even be in space if that feels okay. Take your opposite arm either out into a T or anywhere in that space to the side of you that feels good, opening through your chest and pectoral muscles. Now activate this. So I want you to feel like you're stretching, like it's the first thing in the morning and you're stretching through that twist. Reach, 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 reach. Inhale. And then sigh out and release the stretch, but stay in the twist. So you're going from a more active stretch to a more passive stretch, and there's merit in both. Release any overactivity in the jaw. Come back through center line, take the soles of the feet down. Now you can either just hug the other knee in, or if you did something fancy schmancy to come back down, you can come back down with that move from before. Maybe extending the other leg, maybe keeping the knee bent. I'm going to interlace my fingers on front of the knee because that's just more comfortable. And then I'm going to, well, for me anyway, and then I'm going to circle that knee around. You can hold on with one hand or both. Either is totally fine. We're casual here. Maybe go both directions. And then open out to the side any amount, kickstanding the elbow, creating a nice support for the opening there through the groin. And slow your breathing down. These are the things we can control. We can control, if we think about it, our breathing and taking time for movement. And crossing the midline, bring yourself into your twist. Whatever you do with that opposite arm, try not to hit things that are around you. Feel free just to choose or play with that until you find a nice area that feels good. And then, again, like we're waking up in the morning, just stretch through, reach, 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 reach. Active, active stretch. And sigh it out, release, but stay in the twist. Come back through midline, soles of the feet down, hug the knees in. Optional lift of the head and chest, curling in. 3, 2, 1. Unwind, soles of the feet down. And then bring the legs forward, arms reach back, and get the fullest full body stretch ever. Maybe you're rolling the ankles, moving the toes, fingertips. Again, casual, what feels good, do that. And soles of the feet come down to the floor. Place your hands over your belly or over your heart or one or the other. And bring the low back towards the floor. So you're actually gonna take the pelvis and tilt the tailbone up to activate gently through the core and let that lumbar touch down. Only use the amount of effort that's necessary to keep the back down without overworking, okay? That's what we're gonna do here. We've worked a little bit today. We don't wanna overdo it. There's a lot of resting that needs to be done. Take a deep breath in. Sigh out through the mouth. Now feel free to let go of that tilt of the tailbone until you find just the neutral, natural lift of the lumbar away from the floor. Not forcing it, just what naturally occurs. Breathing here. If it feels better for you to take the lumbar down, absolutely do. And bring your attention to the belly. Notice if it is hard to release and let the belly move. If that's the case, you might want to let the lumbar naturally lift. And now let the belly move as the organs displace, as you're moving the diaphragm with your breath. Sometimes when life gets really rough, we think we have to hold it all together at our center, but that's not up to us, okay? Taking care of ourselves is the number one way to create a better reaction history and story for ourselves with whatever's going on in the world. And you can stay here as long as you like, moving into Shavasana with the legs long if that feels better to you. And I'm going to bring into this some alternate nostril breathing if you would rather do that. So if you are in your Shavasana and you're resting, feel free to stay there. You can even do the breath technique on the floor. It's just a little bit different because you have to touch your nose and lift your elbow. Close your right nasal passage with your thumb. Breathe in through the left. Close off the left, open the right, exhale. Inhale through the right. Close the right, exhale through the left. It doesn't matter which fingers you're using as long as it feels okay. Inhale through the left. Close, exhale through the right. Soften the shoulders. Inhale through the right. Close, exhale through the left. We're slowing it down. In left. Out right. In right. Out left. Bring the hands to the legs. Breathing here. If ever I instruct a breath that just doesn't feel right, skip it or just do Samavriti, which is even inhale and even exhale. Now we'll come into a lotus shape with the hands. So we'll make a mudra here where we'll take the sides of the pinky fingers and the sides of the hands together, and then even the sides of the thumbs, and take that in front of the heart. Don't stress the hands by feeling the need to open this really wide. It can be very soft. Close the eyes and connect. Take a moment to connect to the people that you love, who may or may not have any idea you're doing this in this moment, but it's still useful to send and receive love, right? And if it works for you and you want to send some love to the people that it's been, again, stickier with, more challenging with, then feel free to send some love that direction too. There may not be understanding going on at this moment between ourselves and others, but at least we can be open to offering sweetness and kindness in all directions. Inhale fully. Sigh, shake it out a little bit. Thank you so much for choosing time for yourself, time to move, and time to offer sweetness and receive it. Again, these times are not easy, but what you do matters, and what you do for yourself matters. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and come back and see me anytime. If you have any questions, do comment. I will get back to you. If you found any value, it really helps this channel grow, to engage in any way, subscribe. And I always do a little happy dance here when that happens. I really appreciate you. Namaste.